In the Tall Grass. In the Tall Grass is a 2019 Canadian supernatural horror film based on the 2012 novel of the same name by Stephen King and Joe Hill. The story follows a pregnant woman and her brother who, after hearing a child's cry for help, get lost in a paranormal field of grass. It stars Harrison Gilbertson, Laisla de Oliveira, Avery Whitted, Will Buey Jr., Rachel Wilson, and Patrick Wilson. Plot. En route to San Diego, a pregnant woman named Becky and her brother Cal stop after hearing cries for help from Tobin, a young boy accompanied by his mother Natalie in the tall grass. Concerned, the siblings enter but get separated and find that their distance changes unnaturally. They decide to leave but cannot find the road. Becky encounters Tobin's father Ross, who tells her to stay close and not to lose sight of him, but she does so. Cal stumbles across Tobin, holding a dead crow. Tobin claims that the grass will not move dead things and buries the bird in the path, saying that a rock mentioned that Becky would die soon. When Tobin leads Cal to a rock in the field and tells him to touch it, he hears Becky's scream before a ghost attacks him. The father of Becky's unborn child, Travis, arrives looking for the siblings. He investigates the field, stumbling across Tobin, who implies that they know each other and leads him to Becky's corpse, saying that the field does not move dead things. Tobin arrives at a nearby church with his parents. He and Freddie, the family dog, hear Travis shouting Tobin's name from the grass. Freddie is drawn in, which leads Tobin, Natalie, and Ross to follow and get separated. With the family panicking, the siblings re-enter the grass as Tobin states that Freddie died. Travis, Becky, and Cal move toward Tobin, and all four find each other. Travis says that the siblings have been missing for 2 months. Later, the group spots a building in the distance. Becky receives a call from someone warning them not to keep making the same mistake. The grass seemingly enters Becky's uterus, and she passes out, only to be revived by Ross, who then reunites with Tobin and says that he will show them out. Ross leads them to the rock, where Natalie confronts them. She warns them not to touch the rock, and that Ross is dangerous, telling the others to leave. Travis attacks Ross, who then dislocates his arm and crushes Natalie's head. Ross claims that the rock showed him the truth and the way out, but he does not want to leave. Becky, Cal, Travis, and Tobin reach the building. It is revealed that Travis originally was not interested in being a father and asked Becky to abort their baby, which she refused. As a result, the siblings traveled to San Diego to meet a family interested in adopting her baby, as she did not feel ready to be a single parent. Travis expresses regret and now wants to be part of his child and Becky's lives. While scouting, Travis and Cal discover that Freddie has escaped the field via a hole that leads to the road. Cal lets go of Travis as he slips, causing him to fall off the roof. Tobin flees into the field when Ross follows them to the roof. The two follow Tobin, but Becky refuses to leave Travis and goes back as Cal flees. Ross strangles Cal to death. They are in a time loop, with Cal permanently being hunted by an insane, possessed Ross in the grass. Travis survives and searches for Becky. Ross attacks Becky, who escapes. A thunderstorm begins. Grass creatures confront and carry Becky to the rock, which has prophetic marks relating to her pregnancy. Becky makes a phone call, pleading for her past self to prevent Cal from hurting Travis. As she screams in pain from contractions, the ground underneath the rock opens, revealing roots that turn into humanoid figures reaching toward her. She passes out and wakes up to Cal. He is holding her baby. She falls asleep again and wakes up to Cal feeding her baby to her and saying that it is just grass and seeds. Becky realizes that Cal is Ross. Tobin finds Travis and says that Ross killed both the baby and Cal, and will keep killing them repeatedly. They are confronted by Ross, who mortally wounds Travis. As Ross attempts to force Tobin to touch the rock, Becky attacks him before dying from her wounds. Travis strangles Ross with bundled up grass. To understand, Travis touches the rock and has visions. Travis grabs Tobin's hand, guides him to an exit, states that he is not leaving and instructs Tobin to stop the siblings from entering. Tobin emerges across the road as the siblings are about to enter the grass, convincing them to stay out by showing them Becky's necklace that Travis gave him, closing the loop. Becky decides to keep her baby as they drive back home. Travis listens to them leaving and then dies. Tall Grass appears to tell its story with a nonlinear narrative, cutting between three separate groups at different points in the film's story: pregnant Becky and her brother Cal, who travel to San Diego, Tobin and his parents Ross, Patrick Wilson, and Natalie, and the father of Becky's son, Travis, who follows her and first encounters the Humboldt family before they enter the Tall Grass in the first place. In the Tall Grass twists the very concept of time, leaving the group alone. As the story begins, Cal and Becky are pulled over on the side of a rural road when she begins to feel dizzy. After hearing a child's voice screaming in the grass next to their car, followed by a woman's voice calling out to him, they decide to see if they can help. While wading through tall grass and trying to locate a disembodied voice is challenging enough, Becky and Cal also have to deal with even greater disorientation. They lose track of each other and quickly become lost. When Becky calls out to Cal, it first seems to be coming from one side of the field, then the other. This naturally leads them both to panic and begin frantically searching for each other. During their separation, Becky runs into Ross, who says he'll get her out of the field. Tobin eventually finds Cal, who, in turn, stumbles upon Travis, mourning Becky's decomposing body, despite Cal and Tobin hearing her cry for help just moments before. When the characters finally meet, they realize something is wrong. Travis, for example, seems to have entered the grass field before Cal and Becky, but also after them. Everything starts to feel even more sinister when it becomes clear that the grass has a mind of its own and seems to be manipulating the characters into further confusion and chaos. The situation with the Humboldt family in the Tall Grass is different. It appears that the Humboldts arrived at the church in the silver car that Cal parks behind. This would mean that the Humboldts were chronologically the first group to enter the Tall Grass, despite Travis luring them in. Since there was no one to prevent them from entering, and they never managed to escape, it is strongly implied that Ross and Natalie remain in the Tall Grass by the end of In the Tall Grass, and Tobin has effectively been orphaned. The only hope for redemption in the Tall Grass is a black rock within the field, which will grant them the knowledge of how to get out of the Tall Grass, while also making it so they never want to. Ending. During the finale of In the Tall Grass, Becky manages to escape Russ Humboldt by stabbing him in the eye. She is stalked by the figures she has been seeing in the Tall Grass. They take her to the Black Rock of the Redeemer, and in the mud in front of her, she miscarries and wakes up to find Cal crouching over her, the dead fetus wrapped in a bundle. What happens next is the most disgusting scene during In the Tall Grass. Becky loses consciousness again and wakes up to find Cal feeding her something. She asks him what he's eating, and he replies, "Grass. Just grass." Too late, she realizes the food tastes familiar because it tastes like her, and Cal has actually been feeding her pieces of his own baby. Not only that, but it's not Cal who's feeding her, but Ross Humboldt. Travis and Tobin arrive at the clearing to find Becky near death, and soon after Travis is attacked by Ross, who stabs him in the stomach with a broken bone he pulls from the mud. Ross then attempts to force Tobin to touch the rock, but Becky stops him and removes his remaining eye with her necklace. Justice is finally served in the Stephen King and Joe Hill collaboration during the ending of In the Tall Grass. Travis kills Ross by strangling him with a clump of grass, but Becky also dies from the trauma of her miscarriage. Realizing that he too is dying from his stab wound, Travis touches the rock to understand the grass, which he then uses to transport Tobin back to the church. Tobin emerges from the church to find that he has traveled back to just before Becky and Cal entered the Tall Grass. As they hear the other Tobin's screams from within the grass, Tobin warns them not to enter the field and shows Becky the bloody double of her necklace that Travis gave her. Realizing that something is not right, though it's not like Tobin has time traveled like the Langoliers, Becky says that they should take Tobin to the police station in the town they passed through. She also decides that she does not want to give her baby up for adoption in San Diego after all. In the final scene of Tall Grass, Becky and Cal leave, and back in the Tall Grass, Travis succumbs to his stab wound, with the grass closing in on him. The Church of the Redeemer on the Black Rock. The tall grass book also reveals that the local people know the tall grass and the black rock well enough to avoid it, and that whenever another car is abandoned in the tall grass, they ransack it for valuables. The novel also suggests that the Church of the Redeemer on the Black Rock was likely built by those same people. They probably love this old field. And they fear it. And they worship it. And they sacrifice for it. The Black Rock. Ross says the mysterious, supernatural rock in the middle of the countryside was located not just in the center of the U.S., but at the center of the center, seemingly the nexus of the universe itself. Touching it gives him the ability to see and know things no one else could, and he talks about how its wisdom united everyone. All it asks is a little faith, and you will be redeemed, all your sins, your transgressions will melt away. But what he learned from the rock turned him into a monster, because that rock was the devil's version of the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. In the biblical paradise, eating the fruit of the tree gave Adam and Eve wisdom, but led to their banishment forever. Eating, the rock's knowledge trapped Ross there forever without his humanity, in a place he calls, the Garden of Forking Paths. Tobin, Ross's young son, warns Travis, who is wandering through the grass after stumbling upon Becky and her brother's car in a nearby parking lot, of the same fate after he kills Ross, but Travis touches him anyway. Why he does. Whatever the reason, when he placed his hand on the rock, it connected him to the underworld that gave the grass its dark power, as a red light, resembling the blood that had spilled into its soil for so long, emanated. But unlike Ross, who continued to feed evil, murdering again and again, and even feeding Becky his newborn baby, Travis uses his powers for good. He knows Tobin was right, he could never leave the grass after touching the rock, but the others still have a chance to escape his clutches. I won't leave, but you don't belong here, and neither does Becky, Travis says. Don't let them in. Whatever wisdom the rock gave Travis allows him to send Tobin back to the church on the side of the road. There, Tobin can warn Becky and Cal to ignore the screams of a past Tobin from the grass. He prevents them from entering the grass by showing Becky the amulet Travis gave her, after Travis took it from a dead Becky earlier. The nonlinear nature of time in the grass causes everything to happen at once, and since those trapped in it are reborn again and again, it gives Becky the chance to take a completely different path. This time, she chooses to turn around and go home to raise her baby with her family. Travis is also saved, though he dies. We see the fate of those who succumb to the rock's evil when Becky gives birth in front of it. The ground opens, revealing that those damned souls were absorbed into its roots, where they were made to suffer for eternity. They will never escape the grass. They were not redeemed. But the man who voluntarily stayed behind to save his unborn child was atoned for his sins, and when he closed his eyes for the last time, he looked up at the sky, at a beautiful blue, endless happiness. He chose the right path and escaped the grass forever. That's all from me, thank you for listening, I hope to have some comments, goodbye.